Good afternoon, sir. On today's video, we would like to tackle our topic, which is national service, national security concerning peace educations, introductions. This topic is a new introduction to the study of national service training program. It was introduced only in the year 2009 as part of the 25 hours module, which is to be implemented for the school year 2010-2011. Much of the article included here has been result of the research conducted by military organizations and the institutions which aspire to address the issue of the national security and peace educations. It was deemed the NSTP students should be taught the concept and that concern national security and peace education and the principles engaging in it. So, they may have increased awareness about their own country and their role as an important resource for its development. Not to study. In the study of the national security, there are two schools of thought it's considered. The first view national security as far as the protections of the nations, people, and territories from the physical assault. In this sense, national security is equated with national defense, and that threat in national security are perceived to emanate from outside the country. The second is, in addition to national defense, it is national security now included the protections of vital economic and political interests, the loss of which could threaten fundamental values and vitality of the state itself. In this sense, national security is concerned not only for the military but for the other department and agencies as well, as this is the second school of thought. It means, therefore, that the national security is not the sole responsibility of military, but combined effort of the military and the private sector. And according to Prof. Remo Jose Hilop, an associated professor of political science from the University of the Philippines, national security requires interactions, cooperations, coordinations, and collaborations from all sectors in our society. It is not the sole responsibility of the government. All other sectors are expected to perform their role and functions about the matter. In the academy, is not included in it. It is taught the NSTP that the student and the youth are to be given the lecture and training which will help them to be better service of the country, so that we'll be ready if there's a war in our country. They will be ready to defend themselves as well as our country. Thank you.
Good day to everyone. I am Micaela Nevifloteo, and my topic will be threat to national security. So, there is 7 fundamental elements of threat to national security. First is socio-political stability, territorial integrity, economic solidarity and strength, ecological balance, cultural cohesiveness, external peace, and moral and spiritual consensus. So first is the socio-political stability. We must have and achieve peace and harmony among all Filipinos, regardless of creed, ethnic origin, or social station. So, it is your social standing and about your political belief. And sabi pa nga dito, we have achieved peace and harmony. So, kahit anong religion mo, ethnicity mo, social status, belief, and etc., kailangan natin magkaisa upang umunlad ang ating bansa. So next is the territorial integrity. It is the principle under law that gives the right to sovereign states to defend their territory in them of another state. So from the word territorial integrity, hindi lang yan about sa lupa ng bansa. Tinutukoy din nito ang mga resourceful ng ating bansa. Mga produkto na kailangan ma-export and ma-import. So next is the economic solidarity. Building an economy that is strong and capable of supporting and sustaining human livelihood and national endeavors of the overarching thrust of the Philippines, developmental plans and goals. So, masasabi mong maunlad ang bansa kapag maunlad ang ekonomiya. So, para mataas ang ekonomiya, kailangan natin ng mas madaming trabaho. Pag mas madaming trabaho, ikakaunlad ito ng bansa. So, next is the ecological balance. It is transforming society and improving the lives of many Filipinos, but it comes at a great cost to the environment. So, in short, kailangan nating palagaan ang ating environment. So, next is the cultural cohesiveness. Filipinos must continue to embrace the values and beliefs, systems, the moral and ethical standards, the traditions, and the cultural heritage. So from the word cultural, kung ano ang kultura mo, kung ano ang paniniwala mo, kung ano ang tradisyon mo. We need to respect each other's opinions about cultures and ethnicity. But kung kahit anong paniniwala mo, kailangan pa din natin magkaisa to have a better and stable country.
Number 6 is moral spiritual consensus. We must be prepared by national vision, inspired and manifested in our words and deeds by patriotism, national pride, and the advancement of national goals and objectives. So when we say consensus, is a general agreement. So dito, ito yung spiritual natin na paniniwala na kahit iba-iba man natin ay iba-iba man ang ating paniniwala, dapat magkakaisa pa rin tayo dahil isa itong elements para stable ang ating bansa. So number 7 is external peace. So we must pursue constructive and cordial relation with all nations and people, even as our nation itself must be chart an independent course from the external control, interference, or threat of aggression. So, dito sa external peace, so kailangan maayos yung connection natin regards sa ibang bansa. So, kailangan maayos din yung pakikitungo natin sa kanila dahil makakatulong ito sa ating bansa. For example, kulang tayo sa resources. So, pag kulang tayo sa resources dito sa ating bansa, pwede tayo maghiram sa kanila, maghingi, or magbili sa kanila ng ibang resources na wala dito sa ating bansa. So, the next is internal threat. So, our national security environment is infused with 4 important dimensions. Internal threat to our national security make up the first dimension. So, the internal threat, so ito yung problema na dito sa loob ng ating bansa. So, the first one is the main internal threat arises from the Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF, which is open rebellions against the government, has the above objectives of establish an independent Islamic state in the southern Philippines. So the main objectives of Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF is establishing an independent Islamic state in the southern Philippines. So, 2 is the Communist Party of the Philippines or New People's Army or National Front Democratic or CPP or NPA or NDF continues to pose a serious threat to national security, although presently weakened in comparison with their peak strength in the 1985 to 1870 period. So, ang CPP or NPA or NDF, so they are known as terrorists. So bakit nga ba sila na-classify as terrorists? Because they launched an inhumane act. So sila yung gumagawa ng mga hindi makataong ginagawa. So, or sila yung nagsisimula ng mga pangyayari, ng mga hindi makataong pangyayari sa mga tao, sa mga civilian.
So, good afternoon, sir. This is the continuation of our report, which is the internal threat. Number 3 is organized crime. Is a national security concern. The challenge of illegal drugs in particular has grown into major threat to the national community. Out of 42,979 barangays nationwide, about 12% are affected in varying degrees. The anti-drug campaign is a major cornerstone of the government's law and order drive involving the police, the local government units, and the private sector, and focusing on the tripartite strategy of reducing drug supply and demand, as well domestic and international cooperation. Drug use among the youth has risen alarmingly to over the past 3 years. The national crime rate is also exacerbated by the drug trade, which involves a number of crime syndicates. So, ang organized crime, ito yung mga patuloy na negosyong kriminal na makatwiran na kumikita mula sa mga ipinagbabawal na aktibidad na kadalasang hiningi ng publiko. So, number 4 is grave incidence of poverty. Is also a serious threat to national security, especially to the extent that it breeds and abets rebellion, crime, and dissidence. Poverty incidence affects about one-third of Filipino families nationwide. Consequently, the distribution of wealth has been skewed in favor of a wealthy minority. So, ang grave incidence of poverty, ito ay ang proporsyon ng mga pamilya or individual na may per capita na income o paggasta na mas mababa pa sa per capita ng poverty threshold sa kabuuang bilang ng mga pamilya or individual. So, number 5 is economic sabotage. Undermines the market economy, the financial system, and the nation's resources. Under this category are underground activities such as counterfeiting, money laundering, large-scale smuggling, interoceanic poaching, and commercial dumping. This is being met through vigilant economic intelligence and the strict enforcement of maritime and trade laws. So, number 6 is graft and corruption. Have become another threat to our national security by virtue of the huge scale by which it saps public resources and undermines the morale of the civil service and affects the delivery of quality basics of services. It has also become a disincentive to investment. The Estrada administration has waged a vigorous campaign against graft at all levels in line with the dictum that every peso stolen from the public's coffers is a peso withheld from the upliftment of poor. So the graft and corruptions include bribery, extortion, and nepotism, and are characterized by the subordination of public interest to private aims and violations of the norms of duty and welfare accompanied by secrecy, betrayal, and deception, and the callous disregard for any consequences suffered by the public. So, number 7 is severe calamities. Severe calamities cause serious food shortages, abet hoarding and profiting, and cause hunger, disease, and deprivation. Over the past 10 years, the disaster toll stands and more than 13,000 lives were lost and 179 billion worth of property was destroyed. The National Disaster Coordination Center, or the NDC, ensures the focused, coordinated, and systematic application of government and private manpower and resources to the task of disaster mitigation, community rehabilitation, and reconstruction. So mostly severe calamities happens in the Philippines such as floods, earthquakes, and landslide. So number 8 is persistent environment degradation. Poses a long-term security threat. The attrition of forests and watersheds, air-land water pollution, and the proliferation of toxic substances are a cause of sickness, death, and the diminution of national productivity and well-being. Environmental protection has assumed a high priority in defense and law enforcement concerns and is an institutional area of emphasis in the educational system. So example of environmental degradation is deforestation, falling levels of groundwater, soil erosion, and fossil fuel. So the hole in the ozone layer and combustion from automobiles causing extreme air pollution, especially in urban areas, are some of the examples of environmental degradation.
Good day everyone, ako nga pala si Naipa Jahon at ito ang aking topic, external threat. Ano nga ba yung external threat? What is external threat? It is posed primarily by conflict other countries that may affect certain country politically, socially, and even militarily. So external threat that pose big problem to the maintenance of national security. The Philippines' main concern on this area is a maintenance of good ties and relationship with neighboring countries to avoid dispute that might result to military conflict. Number 1. The multilateral dispute over the Spratly Islands is a source of intermittent tensions is owing to the build-up of structure believed to be military-oriented by some of claimant countries in the area. This is a clear encroachment in the Philippine EEZ, Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone, which is being met through a comprehensive package of diplomatic measures. So, ito yung nagagawan ng mga bansa na nagagawan yung mga bansa na dahil sa nagagawa nila ang Spratly Island. Kung tuloy-tuloy natin, isa din to sa mga external threat sa atin. Kung tuloy-tuloy natin paglalaban yung Spratly Island, baka magkaroon ng gera. Connect to the national security. Number 2, the smuggling of firearms and contraband, illegal migration, and the occasional movement of foreign terrorists through the porous borders of our southwestern frontier have elicited transnational concerns. Philippine law enforcement agency work closely with international police organization bilaterally and multilaterally to check these activities. No smuggling of firearms, contraband. Ito yung mga hindi nagbabayad ng buwis, hindi sila nag-tax. Smuggling of firearms. Example ko dito yung sa Giyera sa Marawi. Yung narinig naman natin sa lahat yung news na halos karamihan sa mga baril ng ISIS ay mga high power. Yung mga baril na yun ay hindi dumaan sa atin. Hindi dumaan sa ating customs smuggle. Number 3, the lingering effect of currency crisis affecting the countries within the Association of Southeast Asian nations (ASEAN) are cause of regional anxieties which tend to aggravate political instabilities and socio-economic dislocation involving the poorest people. So, ang example ko dito sa number 3, yung pagtaas ng dollar at kung tumataas yung dollar, naapektuhan tayo dahil tumataas din ng mga bilihin. So, naapektuhan dito yung mga taong mahirap. Number 4, the serious economic disparity between rich and poor nation keep the world in a state of instability and is virtually on the brink of war. In many places, local or regional shortage of fresh water, land, food, fisheries, and energy are already causing tension. Disparities means imbalance. Disparity means imbalance, yung kakulangan sa resources. Number 5. Ethnic, religious, and cultural conflict pervades many regions and nations, including our own. It is constantly exacerbated by mass poverty, limited access to resource, denial of human rights, lack of national integration, and international issues. Ito, example dito sa religious ay yung mga ISIS at pagdating cultural conflict, kultura. Example, kultura ay yung barong Tagalog. Diniscriminate lang sa ibang bansa yung barong Tagalog kasi nga araw pang mahirap na. Pero pagdating sa ating bansa, ito ay ang traditional na kasuotan ng mga kalalakihan. That could be an external threat. Number 4, the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, WMD, is a threat of the global security. Nuclear material and technologies are more accessible now than any other time in history. The relatives is of production of both chemical and biological weapons has made this attractive to the terrorists. The proliferation is ito ang pagdami ng weapon ng mass destruction. Number 6, transnational organized crime. Transnational organized crime has proliferated in the era of globalization. The International Monetary Fund estimate the global trafficking now accounts for 2% of the world economy, excluding illicit capital flight and money laundering activity. There are links among drug trafficking, smuggling of illegal aliens, massive financial and bank from arms smuggling, and political corruption. Transnational means ito ay hindi lang means two or more countries hindi siya pang international. Dito transnational means two or three countries. Example ito Philippines, ito ang kabilang Singapore, China, Malaysia, and Thailand. For example, ng transnational organized crime, ito yung, for example, nag-kidnap ako dito sa Pilipinas, tapos ilabas ko sa ibang bansa. Yun ang transnational organized crime. Number 8, national disaster and environmental issues will continue to pervade the global security agenda. Mankind's global activities, particularly population growth, resource consumption, pollution, urbanization, industrialization, desertification, and deforestation will increasingly impact climate and weather patterns, strain fragile ecosystem, and put more pressure on health and social support system. National disaster, isa din to sa external threat. Example na yung isa din to sa external threat. Example yung Yolanda, yung matinding kakulangan sa pagkain, yung naapektuhan ang ating pamumuhay. So, meron ito number 9. Yung number 9 ay cybernetic crime. Ano nga bang cybernetic crime? Ang cybernetic crime, ito yung mga hacking na unknown terrorist. Example, isa dito sa external threat ng external threat. Example ko ito kung mahack nila ang government funds na problema din to. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat.